Hey everybody, this is Perch, and a little viewer question here. Here's a fun one. Hey Perch, I've noticed that when I listen to your videos, and I've been listening to your videos for a long time, pretty much since you started, you seem to go through arcs where you're more or less negative. Have you noticed this? Sometimes it seems like the world really gets you down, and the videos, as a result, are pretty down on the industry. And then it seems like something good must have happened to you, or you read a comic you like, and you're positive about the industry. Do you see this? Also, what do you make of a lot of the channels that are very negative? It becomes hard to listen to over time. And that's why whenever you go into a negative cycle, I worry that you're not going to come out of it. Okay, I'll finish. Thanks for everything you do. Appreciate the copy. Love Gemini Jump. Got mine in the mail yesterday. Thank you for everything you do. Cool. Thank Larry for that comic, but glad you got your hands on. So yeah, I can't say I've noticed it. Well, definitely, I think like anyone, life gets you down, or you see some stupid things, and for whatever reason in comics, and I do think you could correlate this to when the announcements are coming out. So generally, Marvel, DC, in the week or so, week and a half leading up to their solicitations for the next month, they start putting out kind of here's what we have going on, and increasingly that always gets me down. That week before, because the stuff that they throw out often feels extremely uninspired, and it feels like you always. I think this is one of the tricks with comics. And by the way, if you're a creator listening to this, I know several of you do listen, and I appreciate that as well. If you're a creator listening to this, you should know this. If you worry at times about kind of these angry fans or these people who seem to just hate comics who are coming at you, I think that almost all comic fans, not all of them, but most of them, they really want to love comics. There's this interesting dynamic where the customers they do at their heart really want to enjoy what's coming out. And in many cases, I think the anger or the frustration that sometimes you see, it's almost more of a backlash, because they get in their heads, here's something amazing that could happen, and then here's what you get. It's like Nailed It, that show. It's like, here's this amazing cake, and here's what you made, and it's this screwed up thing. I think the same thing I think is true with a lot of wrestling fans. You get in your head like, oh my God, that would be a dream match. You can get, I was going to do Daniel Bryan versus Chris Benoit. That well, Benoit is very dead. And that's probably not the best example, but a couple of years ago, I remember Daniel Bryan was in the Royal Rumble, and he was the second to the last person in it. And the crowd really wanted to see Daniel Bryan go over, win the match, go on to WrestleMania. The crowd was behind Daniel Bryan, so they got very excited when it looked like he might make it. And then he doesn't. And the anger, like the crowd was legit angry. It wasn't like, oh, the bad guy did something bad and we're enjoying, booing the heel. It was, damn it, you pulled the rug out from under us. It was like Lucy with the football and Charlie Brown. It was like this feeling of, it's not betrayal exactly. It's just like, you were so close, and yet how could you screw it up? You were so close. That's the feeling that I think sometimes comes up, and it often, I think, manifests itself in comics when the ideas feel very shallow. So I did the video, I don't know, a couple days ago about this Miles Morales What If series, where it's like we're taking Miles Morales and we're giving him Captain America and Thor and Wolverine and Hulk. And what if Miles Morales are all these characters? And on some level, as a comic fan, it feels like you're being trolled. It feels like, the thing you say is, hey, you won me over with Miles Morales. He's an interesting character. I liked the movie. I liked everything that went on there. The biggest negative about Miles is that he is, he can be written as a knockoff of the Peter Parker Spider-Man. And you actually got an interesting backstory, compelling aspect to his character. And then you dove into the least interesting part, the knockoff part. You chose to go kind of the exact opposite of where you should have gone. And I get, by the way, a lot of creators have sometimes commented like it'd be nice if the customers and fans weren't always trying to put themselves in the be backseat drivers of telling us all the things we do wrong. I get that. I get it. But that's where a lot of this negativity comes from. It comes from a desire or a hope that some really cool stuff's about to happen. It's going to happen. We're right there. It's going to be amazing this time. And then, nope, we're giving you the same old stuff. After the Miles Morales video came out and everything else, Marvel announces that they're doing the Gwenverse, where Gwen is going to meet all the different versions of Gwen. And you look at this and you're like, why are you doing this? Why? DC also announced an Aquaman book where we're going to have Jackson Hyde and Arthur Curry in an Aquaman book to build up the Aquaman family. And again, why? Why is your desire to keep just milking these properties until they are dead? Why can't you, like, what the Jackson Hyde character, the biggest negative that you have there is giving him the Aquaman name. He's now saddled with all the baggage and none of the benefit of the character. Whereas if you had built him up as his own character, you just, still same power, still same everything else. Just don't saddle on this legacy that causes him to be looked at as a knockoff. That's nuts, because you don't nail the legacy part. You never do. I think that's the biggest challenge that you have. Not never. It's been done. I always go back to Rhodey. Rhodey did a good job of fulfilling the legacy of Iron Man during that time period. He wasn't just a knockoff. But they put a lot of work into that story. Like that was a lot that went into everything that was going on. And at least half the story was a deep explanation of why Tony Stark couldn't be Iron Man at that time. It was smart. But that is the exception that proves the rule. Almost constantly, it goes the other direction. The legacy does nothing but damage the character. It causes the opposite effect. And I think a lot of these characters are very cool. Jackson Hyde, very cool. But it's painful to watch. So I got a little bit off track there. But I mean, so the negativity creeps in when you see these solicitations come out and you see these promotions come out. You're like, of all the cool things you can do, you did the one that is the least interesting, the one that is the most unoriginal and uninspired, the one that feels like you did the least amount of work. And I think you get negative there. It's hard not to break out of that. And I do think you have a decent amount of people who just are, they're over it. And so we're watching kind of the divorce of them from the love of comics, but we're watching it in slow motion because there's a new kind of club and community that they can join of being negative about comics. So what's happened is they haven't completed their divorce yet. They're still going through it. They've just found a bunch of other people, like a support group for people who are pissed at what's going on in comics. And so it's prolonging this divorce. The final stage of this is just, I'm done. I'm out. Drop the mic. We're over. That's where this all lands. But I think one maybe tip or help for some of the creators, some of the people working in comics, is if you can recognize or start to recognize the people who are truly, they're way down the line of that divorce. They're not coming back. They're just pissed, or maybe they found a way to be money. Way to make money off of being pissed. That's also possible for sure. But there's a whole other group, and I think a large group, who does want to read good comics. They do want this to get better. They do want to, they want the dream in their head to actually come true. And the dream in their head is not, all the characters are men in white. That's not the dream. The dream is that the story they read actually lives up to its potential, that they open up the comic book and it's like, wow, I didn't expect this, and it's better than I could have imagined. That's what they're hoping for. In many cases, that's what happened with House of X, Powers of 10. The bar was so low at that point in the X-Men franchise that when people read it, they're like, oh my God, look what they did with Moira. This is clever. Oh, good. It's better than I could have expected. I think time has shown that comic it's not the best comic ever written for the X-Men, but it surpassed expectations. And I think if you do that, comic fans, comic customers are really quick to come running back. And in many cases, the bar, like I mentioned, is really low to bring them back. You do not have to, fire all the women. That's ridiculous. That's often this argument that gets thrown out as, oh, that's what that group wants. No, that's not what that group wants. Again, 1% of that group, sure. 5% maybe, I don't know. There's some percentage of people, I'm sure, that are just nuts. But that's not anywhere close to the audience we're talking about. And I'm willing to bet that most of the people listening to this right now are nodding their heads as, metaphorically, not in real life. That'd be kind of weird. But they are going, yeah, I'm not looking even for a particular story. I'm just looking for something clever. I'm looking for my expectations to be surpassed. That's all. I'm looking for my low opinion of comics not to be reinforced with big news in March. It's all the Gwens. Like, really? The question I'd love to just sit down and say, all right, to the editor who commissioned this, and whatever the poor sucker is who's going to have to write this thing, what were you hoping for here? Were you hoping for like, oh my God, I'm so excited to see tons of Gwen Stacy's in this Spider Gweniverse kind of that? Like, no customer, not no customer. Again, just like there's maybe, I don't know, 5% of nut jobs out there who want only white dudes to write comics about white dudes. I'm sure there are some. It's not zero, but it's tiny. That's also about the same amount of people who are like, you know what we need? More Gwens with spider powers. That's what I want. Nobody wants that. Anyway, I appreciate the mail, and I'll try and stay positive. What's funny is even the negative videos, I feel positive making them. If that makes any sense. Thanks for listening.